We got no action items today.
That's right.
I'd like to call the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Commission to order at 6 o'clock. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Janelle, can you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2 is roll call. Mr. Moran is here. Mr. Rathel?
Here.
Mr. Porcelli? Here. Mr. Tenova? Mr. Mans?
Here.
Mr. Hornby?
Here.
Mr. Filarski? Here. Item number 3 is additions or deletions to the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda as submitted.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Mans to approve the agenda as submitted. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of August 16th, 2021. And I did not find any minutes that Mike might have left. Janelle, did you happen to see him around the office anywhere? No. Okay, we will. Could you? Let's try to find those because I did not see those. So we'll move on to item number 5, which is the financial report for September 2021. Everyone should have the financial report in front of them. The report indicates that we have revenues budgeted for the year at $978,581. Our year-to-date revenue is $528,857, which equals 54% of our budget. Our expenditures budgeted for the year are the same, $978,581. And our year-to-date encumbrances and expenditures are $410,601, which equals 42% of our budget. Our cash reserve as of September 30th is $599,526, and our past due summary, rent summary as of October 18th is $18,064. With that, I will open it up for discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rathel.
so I think this is the highest it's been. I don't know if it's ever gotten any higher, really. The Lattice LLC and Building 63, that has been continuing on now for about 6 or 7 months. Do we know if there's any records of Mike sending a letter of eviction or where we're at with collecting that?
I did not see a letter of eviction. They did send an email to me stating that, anyways, they sent an email stating that they were gonna make us whole, and then, I ended up sending it over, I forwarded over to Authority to move it forward for eviction. This is where we are. And that was, I guess, early last week, late the week before.
So I want to say that we directed Mr. Duker to do that a couple months ago, wasn't it? That was.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's
we had
just-
no September meeting, so it had to have
Right.
been in August.
When I was talking to I spoke to both of them, didn't mention that there was any eviction notification.
I remember Mike was gonna talk to him.
Yeah, and I think, didn't you
That what it
mention
was? You
that
was
they
just
had
gonna have
mentioned
a
they had talked to
conversation?
Mike and
That was my recollection, that Mike was
something along
gonna.
those lines?
Yeah, it seemed like they were trying to work out some litigation issue that they had with whomever, and, they were gonna get all this money, and I just heard that story before, so I forwarded over to Authority to move forward with the litigation, or to have them evicted.
So that's in Tom's hands now?
It's in Tom's hands.
Okay. And then I know there was a conversation with Sideline on just working with them. I know they had some COVID issues. Have we had any conversation with them?
We have not had any conversation with them.
Can you follow up on that, Janelle?
I can.
The other T hangars,
I can break some of those down. So Wentworth, kind of turns out that Homer sold a plane to Wentworth. Wentworth sold it to a gentleman out in California. And then he sold it to somebody else. And so it's kind of, there's no record of any lease agreement with that hangar. I was able to go down the chain and find an email address which was sent out early last week, to see if we can be made whole with that. But he's nowhere to be found. I have no information on regards to that. There's no lease agreement. There's nothing. So that's the update on that one. Rose Aviation, I've talked to him a couple of times, and he was supposed to be sending a check-in. Not sure if that's happened or not. Then, I spoke to Todd Stanley's wife, and I sent over the invoice to her, and she is dealing with, they have to go through probate. So that's where they are with that. And that's the update on all of the late past due rent summaries that I've been able to track down thus far.
what about Myring?
No, I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Jordan, you know them? That's a new name. I'm not sure what we want to do with.
I think you and I should meet with Janelle, go through these.
Okay. Yeah, Ron and I'll sit down with you, Janelle, to go through these and figure out a course of action with what we want to do.
Okay. I can tell you that the hangar that Wentworth is in, the plane is in there. And it's just basically a carcass. So, I mean, there's no motor in it.
Did you check the tail number who was registered to?
I did, and it was registered back in February. I went into the FAA website and I cross-referenced that. And it was registered to this new gentleman back in February. So that's kind of where that stands.
Okay, thanks, Janelle. Are there any other comments or questions on the financial report?
I just have another question regarding the fuel farm. Jordan, can you update us on where we're at with that and how much we have?
I have a load coming tomorrow, so I'll have exact numbers for you tomorrow once it gets sticked. And I have gallons. I ordered this load about 2 weeks ago. They're about 2 weeks out of shipping right now, so it's finally showing up tomorrow. So we should have most of the tank. I'm going to go ahead and put a second order in for it tomorrow once it arrives. It holds 12,000 gallons. We've been keeping it at 4 for some reason. So I'm going to top it up a little bit so we don't run out if they're going to have shipping problems. Other than that, low leads should be good. Again, I'm waiting on it to get checked tomorrow. I don't know if I have to order a load for that.
Did you say that we only keep our fuel farm at 4,000 gallons?
Because we can only order 4,000 at a time because of the bridge. So Mike's been keeping it at 4. When it got low enough, he ordered another one. But they've been having trouble getting it to us. I don't want to run out, so I'm going to get it at least 8.
Thank you. Yeah, that you're getting both Jet A and low.
Just low lead tomorrow. I'll order Jet A once I have accurate measurement of what we have.
So we don't know how much we have right now.
Currently, no. We should be fine. It hasn't been used a lot, but I can't get an accurate measurement until it gets checked from the tank. Last time it was done with the software, it got overflowed, so I want to make sure I have an exact number before I put it over.
Thank you.
Yeah. Christmas, man.
Anything else on the financial report? If not, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Athel, supported by Mr. Mans to receive and file the financial report for September 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 6 is the manager's report. The introduction of our interim manager, Janelle. Welcome, Janelle.
Thank you.
John and I have had a chance to meet with her a couple times, and I know John has talked to her, met with her many more times than I have, and trying to take things over as we're looking for a replacement for Mr. Duker. Janelle, you want to give us an update on some of the things you've been doing since you've been on board?
Sure. I suppose I don't know, there's a lot to learn. So one thing I've been working on is accumulating data. So data from learning who all the tenants are. I've been out on the field actively. I've met, I don't know, probably 30% of the pilots on in and around just from wherever. I've met probably 70% of all the other tenants. So I'll just hop in the car and drive around, introduce myself, and move forward with that. So that's been there, and then I've been looking at, and this is cross-referencing lease agreements and putting them all in an Excel spreadsheet. So there's a lot of moving parts, whether it be maintenance, whether it be, grants that Derek and I have, been working on for the, continuing on for the Taxiway. There's some tree removals that are in the process of, we have to get removed. So I've been working with MDOT and the FAA and GNS to rectify that. And if anybody has any questions when I'm talking, because there's been a lot happening, interrupt me, stop me, and ask me. So I have worked on, say, fall, winter maintenance on a lot of the buildings to make sure that the heat is up and going, and any active leaks in the roofs and all that stuff to make sure that we're not going to have any freezing pipes upcoming winter. I don't know. I'm in the process of working with, it seems that there's an annual update for fire safety. I spoke to the fire marshal in regards to our fire suppression systems, not only all the fire extinguishers. So I'm in the process of getting different quotes from Vanguard and who's the gentleman you use, Derek? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But anyways, there's a company that I have a quote for them to compare prices of all the different fire extinguishers. And the sprinkler systems over in building 70 are leaking, so I'm in process of getting that looked at, just maintenance on the buildings. I've met with Pirates Cove and Brandon and coordinated a bunch of things with John and Ron and how things were going to be stored there. What else have I done? A lot.
Hey, Janelle.
Yeah.
You mentioned briefly to me about a water tank that kind of was leaking in one of our units, hot water tank, or?
Yes. So over in Hangar 2 on the north side, so there has been an active water leak over there for some time. And I was over there just, making the rounds, introducing myself, and it was brought to my attention that they couldn't figure out where the water was coming from. But it's been going on for quite some time. So the carpet over there. So anyways, long and the short of it is that I had Guy and Missler go out to see if it was the condensation pipe that was coming into the Daly's side in there. It turns out that wasn't the issue. So there was a hot water tank that had been leaking or has been leaking for who knows how long. And it's been dripping down like a PVC pipe that's like in the thing and into the ceiling and all the way down. So I just had that replaced. So hopefully it's all been figured out. But yeah, it was, the carpet in there was less to be desired. So it just needed to be cleaned up and addressed. So I did address that, yes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Janelle, can I plug in for
Mm-hmm.
a quick question? So, going back to the MDOT and the trees, now I understand that's changed a little bit. So,
Yes.
3 meetings ago, we were under this understanding that there was about 4 trees that were in the approach for Runway 4, and now it sounds like there's more.
Yes.
So, yeah, if anything, you can elaborate on what happened there.
I can. So, actually, I thought I made copies. Give me 1 second. I'll hand this over to you for right now, and then I can elaborate on that. So what you're looking at on that first piece of paper is a quote from TNT. So when my very first day, I went out into Bill Barron's backyard and we were talking about trees. And it seemed to me that there wasn't really a definitive tree or trees to cut down. And so I reached out to Wendy Chin over at MDOT to have her see if she could clarify that. And so they were actually in a conference, so she emailed me about a week later and said, okay, well, and this was when Betsy, I can't remember, but Betsy also from MDOT, they advised me to talk to CNS. And CNS said, look, the best thing to do in order to figure this out, because there was an email that was sent over that had not only the trees in the sitting approach area, but it also went out to, went wide. And there's quite a few trees that need to be cut down because it's over the 20-to-1 penetration that it's become an issue. So the trees and really it's a location. It's location 2, 3, and 4, which was what Duker was working on. And there were trees, but it wasn't just, it turns out it wasn't just one tree. So we went back in the woods last week and we went and tromped in Bill and Fritz Overich's yard and had those trees marked. A lot of the trees are in DTE's electrical lines. Those are being, I don't know, I'm working with DTE. They went over that day, looked at them, and we are in line to at least have a conversation. So I followed up with them today. I spoke with Derek earlier today, and I reached out to TNT to at least is what I'm going to call phase 1, to remove the trees that can be safely removed, because this is working in conjunction with the grant for the taxiway. So then there's another, I don't know, 50 plus trees on the other end. So, and I don't know, we looked at it and we looked at how many?
Yeah, so there's a couple of trees out on Round Island that are in the approach to Runway 4. Those are pretty easy. They're fairly small. They're probably no more than 6 inches in diameter at the base, and those aren't of issue. We have an easement out there. I think the bigger issue is the trees in the approach to 2-2. Mm-hmm. And I think originally the state was taking a look at their approach surface, and there were these 3 or 4 trees that were of issue that were primarily on either township-owned property or we had permissions that we were going to be able to remove these trees without a problem. Well, then they did the survey for the Part 77 approach surface, and there's something like 50 or 60 penetrations into that surface that are on properties that go beyond township-owned properties and into private property ownership. So what Janelle and I have asked is that CNS put kind of a parcel map together, overlaying where those trees are relative to private property parcels, so we know what properties are impacted. and then also do some survey work, as she mentioned, as part of the Taxiway Alpha project to see where exactly these trees are at. I think what she was alluding to was we would like to get some of the biggest offenders on properties that we have permission on, or they're on our property or township properties, get those taken care of first, so it limits how many we actually have, and then we'll have to formulate a game plan moving forward for the other ones. And a lot of that will depend upon where they're exactly located, what parcels they're actually on, and we're still waiting on some of that information. But my understanding is that these have been an issue for a little while. The state wasn't necessarily going after airports for Part 77 encroachments or Part 77 violations as it related to that approach surface, but now they've made that a priority. So, and we can get you the map, so it does a really good job of illustrating where these are at relative to the approach surface, and also the quantity of them, because they are fairly numerous, as Janelle had mentioned. There's probably 50 or 50 or
55
55
trees or something like that. It's all, but what they were most concerned about is that this first phase, if you may, was, addressed first, so we can move forward with the taxiway.
What is the time constraint on that?
Well, TNT is out. He said he's out 120 days. So he said that he can squeak us in, 30 to 45 days. So he's
as
gonna.
far as the requirement.
So my understanding after talking with Wendy and Betsy and Kelly and Sarah and CNS and MDOT and the FAA, as long as we have a game plan and we're moving forward and we can show a timeline, then they're fine. They understand things take time. They're okay with it. As long as there's a clear communication with MDOT, FAA, and everybody's moving forward.
Derek, are all the tree removals a condition of the grant,
Yes.
or just the 4 or 5?
Nope. Keeping the Part 77 approach surface clean of obstructions is a condition of the grant. Yes. Grants.
So our taxiway project that we just approved and got funding for the engineering, before that is ready to be shovel ready, we need to address all these trees.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's a condition of that project. It's not a condition necessarily of that it's a condition of the grant for the taxiway project, but it's also a condition of all the grants that we have taken. No different than, it's funny because local government's like a boomerang. You wait long enough, it just comes back around. If you remember our conversation from 12 years ago, 15 years ago with Round Island, we obligate ourselves to keep these approaches clear when we take these grant dollars. So it's a condition of every grant that we've taken, or every grant dollar that we've taken, not just for Taxiway A, but for Runway 422
Right.
and any other funds we've taken.
I'm still a little confused. Is conforming, which is basically topping or removing these 55 trees, contingent upon them doing our taxiway?
No, I think what Janelle was referring to was there is some survey work that they're going to be doing for our taxiway project. They were going to increase the amount of survey work they were doing to identify where exactly these trees were and provide that information to us. So that, I think that's what she was referring to, is that's part of that.
Okay. So the project is approved, right? The grant is approved, and it's not contingent upon these?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
They want us to move forward with it, and they're not gonna pull the rug out from underneath of us.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Well, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that the removal of those trees wasn't a contingency on our taxiway project.
No.
Anyone have any questions for Janelle? Thanks, Janelle.
Thank you, Joe.
Move on to item number 7. We have no action items tonight, so we'll move on to item number 8, which is our discussion items. Item 8A is our taxiway approval of design. I think we've pretty much talked about that. That was approved by the township board, correct?
And it was approved by MDOT. And matter of fact, I think we got our first invoice for our share of that cost just today, as a matter of fact. So.
Okay. Item 8B is runway 22 approach tree removal. I think we just talked on that, so if anyone else has any questions on that? Hearing none, move on to item number 8C, which is the Pirates Cove project update. Janelle had mentioned that we had talked to Brandon a couple times. He was looking for a location to place his dirt on a temporary basis, I think until June of 2022. So Mr. Rathel and I were out at the site. We found a location that seemed to be agreeable. We had sent an email to the rest of the board and asked anybody if they had any objection. We heard none, so we gave Brandon the approval to do that. And then just to the west of that, he is temporarily storing his buildings. They're coming, it's just a loose material that he has, and as soon as the site is ready, he'll start constructing those, but it's a temporary holding spot for those buildings. Any questions on Pirates Cove? Oh, and in return for us allowing him to do that, he has agreed to pick up some of the cost of the landscaping on the east side of the entry into the park, right across from where his development's going. So we will work on that over the winter, and next spring, when he's ready to start landscaping, we will get some landscaping done in exchange for us allowing him to store that material there.
Is that the landscaping of where they just milled the road there, or where exactly is the landscaping?
No, it would be on the east side of where the big anchor is, right in the middle of the
Okay.
road there.
Okay.
Yeah, the entrance in Midway,
Yep,
the
yep.
Memorial Gate anchor.
Got it.
We had a plan design that had like a brick retaining wall, and it had the Commerce Park
Name spelled
name
out.
on it, yes.
And he's doing the east side, or I'm sorry, he's doing the west side. So if he did the east side in exchange for this, it will, dress up that entryway on both the east and west side of that street. Item 8D is the Island Athletics parking lot improvements. I don't know if everybody's gone over there, but the parking lot's been repaved and it's striped and it looks great. Hopefully our tenant's happy with the result of that. Sure.
Hi, I'm Bobby Parsons and my husband Alan, and we are 50% owner of the business. And I just wanted to, if I could, just read this letter of thanks, if I will.
Sure.
I want to express my sincerest thank you and appreciation to the Airport Commission and all the members for the amazing new parking lot at Island Athletics. It has been well received by all members. We informed the members that it would not have been possible without you, and the appreciation should be given to the commission. It has been clear to me that Groseal is a township well loved by its community, and how they support individuals as well as businesses is outstanding, a class all in its own. We each get only so many heartbeats in a life, and that you have given so many of yours in service of this township is remarkable and inspiring. I end with the two words I started with, and they do not begin to express how grateful we are to each and every one of you. So we thank you very, very much from the bottom of our hearts for the parking lot. It's been so overwhelming with everyone coming into the buildings, and on a daily basis, I just let them know, thank the commission. They're the ones who did it. So we just wanted to let you know how much we appreciate that so much. It really meant a lot to both myself, the other partner, Bobby, and my husband. So we just want to say thank you.
We appreciate the kind words, and without you being a tenant there, we wouldn't need to do that parking lot. So we thank you for being a tenant.
It's been very overwhelming over the last year with the outpouring of support from the community. It's just very heartwarming, and we just want to say thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to you being a tenant there for a long time to come.
Well,
As do we.
As do we.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rathel.
before you leave, we need to turn this into a little bit of a commercial, right? You guys are incredible. Alan, what you've done with that place inside is just, it's wonderful. In that lobby, you go in, it's really friendly and comfortable, it's well organized, it's clean, what you've done to the restrooms and the locker rooms, and the fitness center that you have of the big heavy weights with the machines, and then you got the other side where you have the spin bikes that are all high-end, and personal training and yoga and girls cheerleading or running around
Baseball
yelling.
practice we do.
Activity.
You know, it's just all activity. It's a community center, right? All activity. So I just wanted to publicly thank you, and make sure you tell Coach Bobby as well.
Absolutely.
You guys have done a good job so far, and we just wish you continued success.
Thank you so much.
The community deserved it, and the building needed it. So, and it's fun. It's turning out to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thanks, guys.
What's that? Yeah. Yeah, right, yeah. Mr. Chair, excuse me, I think we need to turn this into a commercial.
Just wait. Rafa will keep talking. He'll be all right.
We'll move on to item number 8E, which is the Hangar 2 entrance improvement. And same thing, there's new pavement there as the entryway. And the plan is, under item J, we're going to talk about how we're going to landscape the entrance now that the pavement is taken care of there. So we'll try to clean that up as well. Item number 8F is the airport manager's position update. Derek, you want to give us an update on that?
We had advertised the position. I think applications were due last Friday. I believe we received 13 applications for the airport manager job. We're in the process of putting a group together to review those applications. We'll narrow it down to a short list and then conduct interviews and then proceed from there. I think we were pretty excited with the applicant pool that we received. A lot of variety in there, business individuals, people with airport operations and also airport management experience. So we hope to conduct interviews and complete that process by the beginning of November, I would assume, and ultimately have something before the township board at the latest in the beginning of December. Obviously, they meet twice a month, so for most months. So the first meeting in December is kind of what we're aiming for as far as a recommendation for the position hire. So,
Derek, it's been a while since I read the job description. Was the salary range in there?
it was a range, and I think we
Okay.
were at 50 to 70, I think is where we were at, or 55 to 70.
I thought that was the case, and I just couldn't remember because it seemed like I skimmed through some of the resumes today, and some of them seem very well qualified, and I just was hoping that the salary range was in there so their expectations weren't too high.
Yes, it was. And we advertised a lot of different locations, News Herald, so publication of records, so that goes in there, job posting, website and all that. Association of Airport Executives, it went there. MML, it went there. I think Michigan Township Association, it went there. So we try to cover as much as we could. So I think in this day and age, 13 applications is pretty good for municipal work. There's a lot of competition out there right now for people. So I was happy to see the quantity of interest that we received.
Any questions for Derek?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mans?
Derek, was Mike given an exit interview by chance?
Yes, he was.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Anything else? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8G, which is Gary Jones retirement/replacement options. In my understanding is that Gary was a one?
Maintenance one, yes.
Maintenance one?
Yep.
And if you remember at our last meeting, we had made a decision that we were going to hire a maintenance two position with the expectation that Gary was going to be around for a while and hopefully he would train a new maintenance two person. My understanding is that Gary is leaving sooner than we thought. Do you have a time for that, Derek?
His official date will be December 31st, but I believe he will be done with work November 10th or 11th. So he won't be at work for a period of time. I think he's got some time to use up. I did have a conversation with the union about his position being a maintenance one, and they were okay with posting that as a maintenance 2, understanding that anybody coming into the airport, either internally or externally, wouldn't have the qualifications to meet the maintenance 1 requirements. So that position would be advertised, and is advertised at least internally right now, as a maintenance 2 position. I know John and I had talked. There is the ability still to back off that second maintenance 2 position if you should choose to do that. But as of right now, everything's moving forward as 2 maintenance 2 positions.
And so one of the things, and Mr. Rathel and I had talked about this, is that we wanted to have a discussion at the board level is, do we want to have a maintenance 1 and a maintenance 2, or do we want to have 2 maintenance 2 positions? And then at some point, one of the 2s gets promoted up to a maintenance 1. So I'd like to throw that out for discussion if anybody has any feelings one way or another.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Filarski.
So, I mean, I'd hate to pigeonhole us. I mean, we don't know, what the quality of the applicants are going to be. And, if the right person comes up, I'd love to hire a maintenance 1 and a maintenance 2. But if, the skill level isn't there, then, you hire 2 maintenance 2s. But, ideally, I think what we need is somebody that will bring another skill set. I mean, it'd be ideal to have somebody that might be a journeyman electrician or something to, take care of some of these other things that we would normally outsource. So, I guess it's really hard to just ask for something when we don't know what we're going to get. I mean, we know there's a labor shortage right now, and I don't know what the applicant pool is going to look like. So, my suggestion would be to post a 1 and a 2, and if the applicant's not qualified, we hire 2s.
This is a little bit, just to clarify things a little bit, it's a little bit complicated because we had originally advertised a maintenance 2, and that's currently out right now. So I think that's out till the 26th of October. And I probably have 7 or 8 applications for the maintenance 2 position. And the one that was vacated, Gary's position, or will be vacated, is a maintenance 1, which once again the union offered up to fill that as a maintenance 2 position. So if we were to modify things, we've already got one out as a maintenance 2, and we got the internal one has been authorized as a maintenance 2. So it might be a little bit difficult to kind of backtrack on all that right now. If we had done it the other way around, if we had gotten noticed about Gary's position, you might have been able to advertise that externally potentially as a maintenance 1. So I would have to figure that out if you guys wanted to go that route with the union and figure out how best to do that. But just so you know, we are required by way of the union to advertise any vacancies within the union as an internal posting for 5 days. The maintenance 2 position that was advertised prior to Gary putting in his notice did clear the internal process, so that's why we went to the outside. The maintenance 2 position that's available now that Gary left is currently in the internal posting period. So, and we have received 1 application from an internal candidate for Gary's position. So, just so you're aware of that.
Close it out and repost it.
So Derek, could we, and I understand what you said, could we, if it's going to be difficult to change the maintenance 2 posting that is for Gary's job,
Yes.
could we change our direction of the first maintenance 2 position to a maintenance 1 position?
Yes, you could do that. Yeah. Now keep in mind the maintenance 2 position pays less than the maintenance 1 position. So from a financial standpoint, obviously it's more affordable for a maintenance 2, but if you can pay higher, obviously you might be able to attract better talent with the maintenance 1 posting. But our union structure works, it's maintenance 2, maintenance 1, maintenance lead. So there's actually 3 steps within the airport department.
My only concern, I spoke to Dr. Glovis, who's the chair of the advisory group. I'm not clear what we need for a maintenance person. 2 people that know how to cut grass and shovel snow. Yeah, I mean, Chris could do that, maybe. So, you know, we're paying now more for really grass cutters and snow shovelers when we need more technical.
Is December 31st.
I mean, the day he's gone. No, no,
Day
the
he's
day he
phys-
leaves the
Yeah,
airport.
the day he's physically no longer here, I believe his last day of work will be the 10th of November.
The
So
10th. So if the last day is the 28th, when John was talking about training him, how is this? How's this going to happen?
I would not count on Gary training anybody.
It doesn't look.
Yes.
To fill Gary Jones.
Internally.
We have a 5-day in posting internally before we can go out, right?
Correct, yes.
What is the criteria of going out? If one person internally applies for it, does he automatically get that job?
So the way the union contract reads is that individual has to prove that they can do the job as it's provided for in the description. And then the entity that he or she transfers to has 90 days to review their work in that new position. And if they can't do that job, they fail to do that job within the 90-day period, that actually can be sent back to their other job. So,
But let's say that we do that, and then we have some electrical work or plumbing work that's in one of our buildings somewhere, and that person just fails miserably at it, but they come back and say, that's not even a maintenance 2 position requirement. That's possible.
that's a valid point. Yep.
So any internal candidate that is deemed capable of basically cutting grass and plowing snow will get this job.
Well, meet the qualifications asked for within the job description. So I don't want to pigeonhole it to just cutting grass.
Well, I
and
mean,
plowing,
but
yeah, correct. Yes.
Derek, why don't you pass on those 7 or 8 applications? Let us review those.
Sure.
And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So we can review those and then determine whether or not we want to go out for maintenance 1, or no, we can't do that.
Well, what you would do is, I think as Mr. Filarski had mentioned, you'd probably just repost the external job as a maintenance 1 if you wanted to go that route. So the nice thing we have right now is there's no obligation to do anything. We haven't hired anybody. We haven't made a commitment or an offer to anybody. Right now we've got vacancies or a vacancy in which we can fill internally or externally. So depending on which way you handle things, right? So.
And we could hire 2 maintenance 2 people if they have different skill sets.
And
if one person has one skill and another has a second skill, we could hire 2 maintenance 2.
Especially
that could cover.
If you have an internal candidate and you know what that internal candidate's skill set is, and they fill one void, and then you conduct your hire for the other candidate in a way that you pick the candidate that maybe fills some of the gaps that the other one doesn't. So you have a lot of flexibility here to try to put together a good team, right? And so I think that's a good thing.
If you get it wrong,
If you get it wrong, then
have a hard time
then
because
you
the bar's so
know
low.
then you know what's going to happen if we get it wrong. Derek, and I know you're working with our maintenance people here on the island to fill in and help out and take care of us. How much time do we have to figure this out, like a hire for the airport?
I want to do it as soon as possible, because once Gary is gone, DPS has to come over and help out, and Lord knows they have a full plate. They have their own work to have to do. If I got to pull them away to plow the runways for the winter time, that's going to cause a lot of problems elsewhere in the township. So sooner than later would be preferred.
Could we contract out? Can we contract somebody to plow the snow?
I think a lot of it depends upon where we're at with the hire process. If it's to fill a void while we're going through the hire process, I think you could probably get that past the union. But when you start not filling positions and outsourcing that work, I think you start running into union issues. So,
Well, nobody that's ever plowed a runway, and no one's ever been out on the airport, that comes over as a maintenance 2 and knows nothing about the airport, and now we got a snowstorm, is not qualified to go out there and plow the snow.
yeah, and there's going to be some training that has to happen.
When? If it's snow on the ground.
I'll be working with I'll be working with the DPW staff to assist with that, because I know I've had conversations with them about the best way to push the snow. Unfortunately, I did a little bit of snow pushing out here when I was here last, so I've got a general idea for how things need to move. So, but it was all okay with the union. So, but yeah, I'll have to help out with that some.
Derek, one more question. Just coming back to this maintenance 1, maintenance 2 thing. If there's no certification between the two or anything that the FAA can put their pencil on, if there's an aircraft incident where it's deemed lighting was a factor, whether lights were out, is the airport in hot water with maintenance 2 personnel here or maintenance 1 personnel here? I'm just trying to figure out.
I don't think the FAA cares whether they have a maintenance 1 or a maintenance 2 qualification. Maintenance 1 and maintenance 2 is an internal union classification. The FAA only cares about whether the township did everything that it was supposed to do to make sure that the airport was safe to operate. Whether that was conducted by a 1 or a 2, they don't really care, or a lead or a manager. Yeah, it doesn't matter to them.
Okay, so properly training a maintenance 2 for airport operations is fine.
Most definitely, yeah, yep, most
Okay.
definitely. So where you start getting into trouble is if you have somebody that's required to have a certification or a license to do something, and they're doing it without the license. Like, for example, like herbicide application. That's one thing we do a lot at the airport. If you're applying herbicide and you don't have a license for herbicide application, well, then you can get in trouble for that. But as far as classifications or certifications to be able to do FAA airport stuff, you need to be trained to do that, but we can have a maintenance 2 doing that work. Once again, the 1 to 2 is just an internal classification.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Do we need a maintenance 1 posted if we're going to train the maintenance 1 anyway, unless we get somebody out of another airport.
Right. Once
That's
again, if the maintenance 2 classification, and that's what you're advertising, allows you to attract, because it's a higher pay rate, attract somebody that has that experience, well, then that's a different story, right? So.
Yeah.
So one last question on the pay. So an internal maintenance 2 is roughly $22.
Correct.
An external maintenance 1 would be what?
I want to say maintenance 1 was 24 to maybe 26, so it would be 80% of that.
So maintenance 1 externally would get paid less than what a maintenance 2 would be that came in from inside.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. Yep.
To begin with.
Yeah. To begin with, yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Any other questions for Derek? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8H, which is the EPA building update. I don't know who's best qualified to speak to that, whether it's Mr. Rathel or
Janelle, Ken.
Janelle.
Yeah.
So, we last spoke to Derek and I had a Zoom meeting with the potential buyer and their realtor, associate broker, last week in regards to what they're going to be doing with the building. So right now, as it stands, have you had any other updates since that meeting? So it looks like they're supposedly supposed to be closing October 18th, which is today, right? So I'd be curious if that happened. They're out of California. There were a couple of legal description issues that they had asked. Derek spoke to them at length last week in regards to zoning questions that they had, nonprofit organization, just what their plans are for the building. We did talk to them in regards to, there was a sliver of land that they needed to go back and talk to the management company out of Chicago to figure out what they were going to do with that. Have you heard any updates? Have anybody reached out to you?
Nope.
So I'd be curious to know if they extended the purchase agreement to move forward to get some of those questions asked. So, yeah, that's kind of part of the update.
Janelle, did they indicate their expected use of the building?
So they were asking about zoning. Wanted to know what was allowed in an A1 district. They wanted to know what the water access was. They wanted to know what the airport operations were and what access they had to the airport. But more, they were just interested, I think, in what potential use for that building could be based upon zoning and those things. They said they were still trying to figure it out, what they were going to use it for, but they had thought about using it for like research, environmental research, similar to what, I think their exact terms are similar to what the EPA was doing there. But they were talking about maybe doing it with college students and having some sort of live-in arrangement there for these college students that are doing this research. But they mentioned it was more space than they needed, and so they were also looking at maybe subleasing it to other businesses. Basically, they were trying to figure out the use, I think. I don't think they had made a determination yet on that exactly. So
It didn't seem like they really had any definitive answer for what they were going to use it for at all. I mean, that's how I felt.
yeah, and they're also apparently are a nonprofit organization, so taxes obviously become an issue and tax revenue there. So, and I don't know
What do you mean by that, Derek?
well, the fact that they wouldn't pay taxes if they're a 501c3. So
So they won't be paying any property taxes to the
Correct.
township,
correct,
and they don't know what they're gonna use it for?
right,
And they asked you if it had water access,
right, and they
and
wanted
they
to
said,
know
hey, is it on an airport?
Yes.
And they're in San Francisco?
From California.
From California, yeah.
We have a name?
name of the business.
Yeah.
John,
No.
you want to address that?
I don't remember.
Well, I mean, so yeah, I mean,
It was, I believe the owner, last name is Booker.
Wade Booker.
Yeah, and the business is, I believe they're involved in some sort of nonprofit television channel out in California. So I'm not sure how the environmental research aspect works into things. So
But that was not their intent for this building.
not their intent,
Their-
no.
Their current.
What was the guy's name?
Booker was the last name.
Wade Booker?
Wade Booker.
Wade T. Booker. Man, I love that name. He is the managing director of a company called Minority Television Project, Inc. I just looked his name up.
Yeah, so I don't know if I got the feeling like, I don't want to speculate, but they're really trying to figure out what the use was going to be, and I don't know whether that's because they're planning on purchasing and selling, so what they know what they can market it towards, or whether they're just trying to determine what the other square footage could be used for, so they could sublease it. So there were no definitive plans. There was no definitive timeline. As Janelle had mentioned, there are some issues with some property ownership concerns on the west side of the property. There was an encroachment. So of one of the buildings onto airport property, so that needed to be resolved from the title company. So that was still outstanding, and I haven't heard anything since we had the conversation last week with them. So I'm not sure where things stand
So it
currently.
may not have closed because of that issue.
Correct.
If it was scheduled to close today.
Or
Okay.
maybe they're reviewing what the property could be used for, and who knows. So
Okay. Well, as more information becomes available, let us know and we'll pass it along to the rest of the board.
we did express some concerns about the property upkeep.
Yes, I was gonna ask you that.
And obviously, they don't own it, so the property upkeep responsibilities still stay with the federal government. So once they purchase it, assuming the purchase goes through, we indicated that that was a high priority, that the grass get cut, the weeds get cut. And also, I think there was some concern from our fire department that that building is sprinkled, so that they put heat on there as soon as possible, so we don't have any kind of, if there isn't heat already, I'm not sure that there is or there isn't. But, so we don't have busted pipes and stuff from the sprinkler system, because, that's a concern too.
Well, if it doesn't close, can't we do the same thing with the federal government?
Sure, can.
Okay.
Yep, definitely.
Any other questions for Derek? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8, I, which is future development. Mr. Rathel.
Okay. As every year, we talk about things that we like to do or plan, and you guys say great or shoot me down. Doesn't matter.
He's leaving.
Good. No.
Okay, so there's three things, three kind of areas that I want to think about and talk about. We could start initiating conversations with some outside people to determine cost and kind of a business plan, I guess, of how we'd want to do it if we want to do it. Are we going to be able to put it up there?
There should be something that says Elmo on the screen.
Right here? This isn't on either. The first one I want to talk about, I'll do a little bit of a introduction to it. As you guys know, I've always thought that the airport would make for good residential. And we were hoping that the EPA building would go to a developer that would develop it into a residential property, condos, have a restaurant, potentially a brewery. We met a number of potential buyers over there and discussed those things, and everybody was excited about it. However, you know, the cost of buying it and then getting it to the point where you could start the project was a concern. So as I drive around, I drive past areas that are just vacant blocks of land that has been left over from our Navy base housing days. We cleaned up rather easily the asbestos that was in the lots that Pirates Cove is developing. I was always really concerned that if we dug down there, what would we find? How do we do it? And this became a really great project to see what was there, and we ended up addressing that rather easy. So with that, the other areas that we have, I thought that we could start talking about putting some development there now and some residential. Grosse Ile is in a desperate need to have housing of 2 bedrooms, 2,000 square feet. People want to downsize, but they don't want to downgrade. They want to have nice things and want to move out of their big houses. We all talk about it at our age. And there's really no place to do that in Grosse Ile unless you go to a condo. So I really believe that these types of developments somewhere in our Commerce Park, some people call them brown houses, but here's a picture of some row houses. You get into all kinds of different things of style and colors and streetscapes and things. This one here, we all recognize. I don't know, it's kind of really light there on the screen. No, that's in Wyandotte on Biddle. And they're just beautiful. They sell, they're really fantastic units. So I picked out a number of spots that we could build these things and then even expand that would have great street frontage. You know, we did the roads back there, so we have real nice roads, and infrastructure wouldn't be a problem to develop these types of housing units. So that's the first one. How would we do it? Obviously, we should take all of our money out of our account and develop it ourselves. No? Get a developer?
we gotta talk about that. There are people that, would love to do this, I think, if we open this conversation up to people, get proposals. How we would do it, well, you guys are the greatest minds here in the township. Collectively, we'll make the right decision after we first decide whether or not this is a project that we want to start talking about and moving forward. I'm all fired up about it, and I'm pretty convinced that they would sell pretty quick. So that's one. This is a map. This isn't really a future development, but it's an opportunity maybe. I spent the last 25 years trying to protect this land that is to the south of Meridian School, along Meridian. Everyone sees it when they drive down Meridian, and then when they turn into the soccer fields. Our land is where the football field is, that's in red. This is what we lease for $1 a year to the recreation department. And then the woods that we have there is ours that we do nothing about. There is not as much of an issue with the FAA of shedding properties at airports where, for example, the recreation, which is the other box to the west, it took us 10 years to actually get that land released. We released it, and then the township, we basically sold it to the township for an outstanding debt that we had. Actually, it was the roof here on the township hall over Hangar 1, and that became the wreck. I would suggest that we start thinking about maybe selling that property right there. That could be even a place where we could put row housing if we wanted to do that. I kind of like the idea of putting it in these blocks here, or even right in here, but there's a lot of opportunities to do that. You know, I always manage and think in perpetuity when I think about the airport. I'm not so sure that we're going to need that land. We have so much other usable, developable land now, evident of the fact that our project at Pirates Cove went so well. So we're able to do things there and turn it into some unique streets and streetscapes. So I'd like to start thinking about potentially selling that, what it would take, what it would be worth. The football field, we have the outstanding debt. We have some monies that we pay 3.5%, I think, to the township. We should probably talk to the township to potentially turn that land of the football field over to them, just give that to them for the forgiveness of the loan that we have with them. And then Rec and Gyra and Giza and all the recreation folks would be able to have that in their portfolio. So what do we do with the money? I'm not a pilot, but if I owned a plane, I'd probably not be happy every time I went to my T-hangar. I'm very familiar with the problems that we have with the T-hangars, which ones leak, which ones flood. We did some maintenance work a few years ago because we addressed these things, but you can see all the rust down there. That rust. And that collage of colors. I'm sorry, you can't really see the colors, can you? Well, basically, it's all different colors.
So these pictures, this is from the far north row, this is from the center row, and that's from the south row. So all 3 rows of hangars need to be painted. I think that with the great job that you guys have all done with generating new revenue from the 8 new units in '63, all the things that you guys have done generating really good revenue with the tennis center and also Pirates Cove, that these things need to be addressed. But I have to warn you, it is not going to be easy. I mean, you'd have to spray these things. Paint flying around in the air next to airplanes are not the greatest combination. It would have to be a well-coordinated attack. It would have to be phased. So many units have the pilots, the tenants get their planes out. We'd have to probably help them put them inside somewhere. I mean, it's not just as easy as going over there and just start having somebody spray paint the hangars. But I want to start talking about this and coming up with some cost. Somebody asked me what would it cost to put the new bank of T hangars in. For some of you guys that have been here for a long time, to the far south across from this hangar. This hangar is the doors face to the south. They're the farthest south. Right on the other side of that ramp, we had prepped that area for new T-hangar expansions. I know that I've had conversations with some people, tenants on the airfield, about new T-hangars and a corporate hangar, and just try to develop something there. Somebody asked me, you know, what it cost, and I didn't know, and I felt like I should know. It's hard to say we're not going to do it because it's too expensive if we don't really know what it costs to do these things. So I'd like to at least research on what it would take to paint these, how much to add a new row, just gather our thoughts here, because if we don't keep these things up, T-hangars, I think we have 82 T-hanger leases. Yeah. Janelle, is it 82? 80?
65 T-hangers.
Oh, so that's all the planes. Okay, so yeah, just T-hangars.
65 just T-hangers.
Right, yep. So
How many planes are in the T-hangars?
I think ones that have motors. We have been working diligently to figure that out. I believe from our research, it looks like we may have 3 empty T-hangars without aircrafts.
but we have leases.
I am working on that data.
When Janelle says we, she means she. there's no we working on it. It's her.
So
But I thought we had a waiting list. You wanna come up, Jordan?
Yeah, I can. When I started, Mike stopped keeping a waiting list. He said that most of the time when a T-hanger was empty, he'd call down the list and no one wanted it anymore. So he just started calling who he knew was looking for a hangar. I was going to start creating lists. I hadn't heard from anyone that wanted to be on it yet. Once I hear from people, I was going to start putting an actual list together of who was looking for a hangar. Me and Janelle put together the list of the tenants that we know of. I helped her with that, and we're trying to figure out where people are, what we have available, what we can start leasing out. But I think we have leases in for every hangar, at least last time I looked at it, but I could be wrong.
yeah, I mean, there's a little work that needs to be done.
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, just going along with what John was talking about, the biggest complaint I've heard while I've been working here is how the hangars have been kept up by tenants of the hangars. Also, this line of rust that he was showing is new from last year. That is because the snowplow, when they just piled snow against the hangars and left it there. So when I'm a flight instructor at the flight school, I had to pull planes out over 2 feet of snow some days, and it was just left there to melt, and it rusted a line straight across. So if we have better maintenance people who take the time to dig that out, this won't have to get repainted again for some time. So that's just something to think about while you guys are looking for new maintenance personnel.
Bottoms have been rusty for quite a while.
Have they?
but-
They got
but
worse.
yeah,
They got worse
that is
over
the
last
cause,
year.
though, yeah.
Because it would get left, it would melt, it'd refreeze. I'd have to chip plane ice from our hangars to even get them open some days.
So with our 65T hangars, we have 65 planes. They're not just storage units, though, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. That's good.
There's no one just storing cars and things.
Well, you're required to have a plane, you have to register.
I get it, I'm just.
And then, but to your point, you have to register, you have to provide an N number when you sign the lease, but that doesn't mean that that plane is always there, right? I remember from my days here, probably at least 10 or 12 of them never had a plane in them, so. And that was Tom Pajaski, I don't know if you remember him, but he always had a big issue with that, so.
So I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that we did the entrance ramp to Hangar 2, which is a pilot's entrance ramp. Ron, I guess we're gonna talk about landscaping, but we'll finish that. We did the paperwork and got the grant for the taxiway. And that project is going. I think that from my standpoint, the next big project for aviation are the T hangars. And I can't answer any question that anyone asks me about them. And I think that we just need to get those answers and start thinking about how we do that. So anyway, that's that one. Okay, so this one I'm pretty serious about. I've been doing a lot of research on this, and you know, we have 1735. We don't know what's going to happen with 1735. I just don't feel good about it. I hope I'm wrong. But the one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to have 1735 just look like the old dirigible hangar pad, overgrown and just a blight over there. So I started researching about pilots and what they do, and I think that we need to, and I hope the pilots figure out a way as well to bring in more transit traffic, more activity here, to have people come in and experience Gros Isle, and everything that we have to offer with the golf courses and the fishing. And Chateau Voyageurs is the first term that was used here at this facility to bring in the adventurers, the people that flew and they hunted and they fished and they golfed and they do all this stuff. Well, there's a tremendous offering that we have here on Gros Isle. So how do we get people there? Well, I never realized that people that have planes love to camp. They love to go somewhere and they love to camp. So these are just some photos. Yeah, these guys just fly in, they hang out, they camp. This is an air show, and they have a really good time. Here's another one. So what do we do? How do we do it? I want to at least look at the possibility. Actually, I want to do it. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I kind of want to put a campground on 1735. It's like it's just made for it. It's a beautiful place. I mean, ultimately, I'd love to put houses there to have T hangars on the runway, a home, and a boat dock on the back on Frenchman's Creek.
I mean, that would be the ultimate, like, living scenario for pilots that love the boat. But obviously, we can't just automatically turn this into a campground, but I'd like to at least give it an opportunity and try it. If you notice here, they just brought in porta potties there for this one. And then ultimately, if this thing is something that becomes more permanent, we have the ability to very easily put in a restroom there, an activity area, big fire pit, place for pilots to gather. So what does that do with 1735? Well, I think they could go hand in hand. If we're not going to be able to redo all of 1735, then one of the things that I want to look at is, well, can we do part of it? I think that runway is like 2,600 feet. Daryl, do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's almost 4,000.
Oh, 38.
Yeah.
It's a great runway for student pilots, but it's not a true crosswind runway. And the way that they're funding these projects now is changing, and it's totally based upon activity, and they can manage, they can see all the aircraft activity, landings, takeoffs, where the planes are, and they're just gonna make the decision based on that. But there is a possibility of maybe shortening the runway to at least have some active strip over there, and then come in and taxi. Obviously, smarter minds than me would have to figure out what the logistics are. But I think it's a mistake if we do nothing and just wait. If we just wait to see what's going to happen from a grant perspective, we just had 0422 done. We're just doing our taxiway. They've already said that it's not a true crosswind runway. Unless Janelle or Derek can say they have given us hope, I haven't heard any from anybody. Do we have even an update on?
Before Mike left, he had signed a contract with CNS to present an appeal, and that was in process. So, but they haven't answered the appeal yet. So, but I think if we could get grant funding for it, they were only going to be able to justify a shorter runway, like maybe 3,000 feet or.
About 380, something like that, or 3,800.
I think it was even shorter than that when we had talked to them. They were talking.
I heard 32,000.
Yeah, right around 32, I think
On
is.
the north end, the apartments are in the approach zone, and so to clear that, they were gonna shorten it.
Yeah. So, this idea of having activity, out there, I mean, I'm sure the pilots are gonna have to weigh in on this and talk, but, or it's just a dumb idea, we move on, but I just don't wanna not do anything. I don't want the runway just sitting there, not active, and this is a way that it can be a benefit to aviation still, even though it's not a full-length runway. And bring people in, which we need to do. We need to get transient pilots here. We're done being a little flying club anymore. We need to get transient pilots to come in here and experience Grosse Ile. I just had a good friend, well, you guys probably all know Gary Soloway. One of my best friends, he came in, him and his wife came in this weekend, and he stayed with us, and we did nothing but talk about this kind of stuff and the activity that's going on around the country in aviation, especially their airport, and how much transient activity that they have and where they go. It really is a benefit to aviation and a benefit to us. So anyway, those are camping on 1735. Beautiful, love it, great idea, unbelievable. T hangars, paint them, absolutely a must.
sell that, put a for sale sign up, build brown houses. What an idea. I mean,
Grateful your time is
it's
expired.
it's crazy, so.
Mr. Mann's has somewhere to go.
My wife is working late tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Rathel.
Linda's working late tonight. I don't need to be home until, 9 o'clock, so we got some time.
Give us a lot to think about.
Very good.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is item 8J, which is the landscape plan, and we had talked about that a little earlier, that now that the Hangar 2 entrance improvements have been done on the asphalt, that our next step is to move forward our landscape plan that we had done before. So the intent is to try to work through some kind of plan over the winter, so when the spring season starts, we can do the landscaping there. So more on that to come. With that, move on to item number 9, which is subcommittee reports. We have none tonight. Chairman's report, I have nothing to report. And we'll move on to public comment. Is there any comments from the public?
That might be me. I'm, I have to go up there.
Yes?
Yes.
I'm with the Airport Advisory Committee. I hope that we're in a new area. We have a new board. We have a new township manager. We have a new airport manager, and we're going to have new maintenance. And there's going to be a lot of room that we need to cooperate together to get everyone on track for the betterment of the airport. And that's what I'm hoping that we can do. Right now, we see the airport is falling apart, not falling apart, but there are a lot of weeds, a lot of issues with maintenance that hasn't been done. And the fact that it's hard to get the airplanes out because the snow is packed up against the T-hangars is an example of that. And I think that we do have to keep an open conversation and find ways to improve the maintenance on the field. I was very happy to see that Derek said that we were looking for 2 people because we had thought maybe there would only be 1 person being sought. But with 2 people, that gives us a chance at regaining some of the nice part of the airport. You know, if we cleaned it up, we could get people coming in here. If we could get an FBO, if we could get a restaurant on the field, we could get pilots coming in. There's a lot of opportunity here, and for years I've thought that with the golf courses and the marinas and all the things that you can do here, it should be an attractive place for transient pilots to come in. So I have nothing further to say. Anyone? Yeah. Okay. Oh, we could use the runway swept too, by the way.
Thank you.
Comes trouble.
Carl?
Afternoon. I work for this guy. As you've all noticed, that the maintenance on this field has been very derelict for the last 20 years. And that's sad. We have an asset that's very valuable, and it needs to be taken care of. And I'm glad you're finally doing something about it. And we need competent people, and we need the maintenance done in this field that's been lacking. And that makes me feel good. I'm glad you're kind of finally realizing that we've got to get this done and get this place back in shape. That's number 1. Number 2, you've got a couple of committees. You've got the Airport Safety Board. We've got a new gal here. I didn't even know who she was. I'll find out who she is now. And Derek's back here. He's got a lot of history. I've been involved with this field since 1970. I was a tenant in the spec building for 18 years. I've been a pilot here. I finally had to realize that my proficiency had deteriorated, and I had to give up my flying, which I had some of the finest equipment, and it was kind of a bitter pill to swallow, so I had to sell the airplane. But I'm still, as John tells you, I got a passion for this place. And I want to see this happen. And I think you guys with the new bunch and everybody that's involved, let's get her done. Let's
Thanks,
get her
Carl.
done.
Thanks, Carl. You're a good man.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll open it up. Is there any other business from any board members? Any other business? Janelle, Derek, anything else? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Mann, support.
Nice goal. Please, use us.
Like,
I don't care how you use us.
you don't
but
care,
just-
Carl, how I
just
use you?
Use us, because we got a new board, a new group, you know, that are really great people. So please use us. We're here.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Keep your phone on at 2 a.m., Carl.
We have a motion by Mr. Mann, supported by Mr. Tenova to adjourn.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.
Derek, something's never changed, buddy.